If you had one piece of advice for beginner trader, what would it be?
That's a good question. Be patient. I think crypto Twitter and crypto in general, everything's hyper speed. So you'll see a bull market play out in gold over a decade. You'll see a bull market and then a bear market play out in crypto. It could happen in a day on an altcoin. It could happen in a year on Bitcoin. So things happen very quickly in crypto, and money can be made quickly. It can be lost quickly. But the whole concept of you get caught up chasing money fast, and you can lose money just as quickly as you can make it in this space. And so I think a lot of people lack patience. And I would 100% have more money now if I was more patient with my trade setups early on, if I was more patient with making money more slowly, because I would take Bitcoin and I'd say, well, I have Bitcoin, but if I put it into these altcoins, maybe I'll make even more faster. And if I would have just held that Bitcoin from years ago, I'd have more money now than I do. So I'm not saying it's all going to be the same, but just realize that what you're trying to learn here is a very difficult skill. This is the most advanced video game in the world. Don't expect to master it in a day, in a week, in a month. It's going to take time. And so be patient with your learning process. Be patient at the speed at which you're making money and you're progressing. Be patient with your setups, right? Like if you take a trade and you say, look at the trade we're in right now. Like let's say we love this trade, stop here, target here. We're underwater right now. How many times have you looked at a trade like this and just closed it? Because you're like, oh, well, it's going down. And then it ends up chatting to your entry or to your target shortly after. How annoying is that, right? Or it's at your take profit and you're like, well, I'm going to let it go a little longer, and then it cuts in half. So it's about being patient and trusting the process, as corny as it sounds, because over time, if you continue to do the right thing and practice good habits over time, you're going to be successful. Getting good at trading and improving in trading and in life in general, it's not about necessarily fast. It's about repeating good habits every day, understanding that these things are going to compound over time, and then just reducing the amount of mistakes that you make. And at the core of all of that is just patience. I think it's very easy to get caught up in the Moodang, the GOAT, or whatever the new coin is that someone made $1 million on today and you didn't. And then you feel like you need to do something different. You need to be more aggressive and move faster. Just trust the process, man. If you're making money consistently more than you're losing over time, if you continue to do that and you just slowly improve over time, you're gonna make it, bro. Don't believe in these people who are like, you got to make it tomorrow or you're fucked. Like that's not the case at all. So be patient with yourself, and this is good life advice as well from an old man.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Compounding over time, yeah, compounding good habits over time is the way to go. So something that Ricky just mentioned in the chat there is that he feels like he's getting worse the longer he does it, right? And it's actually something that I noticed as well. This is something that I think can be applied to basically any methodology or any like skill or talent that you're trying to get better at, any discipline. Any vocation, right? Is like when you first start that thing, the learning curve is crazy because every piece of new information you're taking on is adding to your collection. Your collection is so small at the start of the things that you know about that subject or that discipline that even the smallest addition multiplies it exponentially, right? So you start trading that first week, you go from knowing nothing about trading to knowing a huge amount about trading, right? Comparatively. And you're growing. And those first few weeks, those first few months, it really feels like you're making crazy progress. And then there's like this lull period after like maybe like 6 months, right? Where it kind of like the amount that you know starts to kind of taper off, but you also are discovering that this trading thing is bigger than you ever realized, right? And it's like your mind is opening up, right? You realize that actually I haven't even made a dent in this thing at all. There's so much I need to learn. You know, I'm making so little progress. I would say after the first 6 months to like maybe the first 18 months, there's like a whole year there where it really feels like you're making no progress and progress is slowing down and you're getting worse. But that's actually, it's a false equivocation. What's actually happening is you're realizing how much there is to learn and how little work you've actually done so far. And then there's a moment on the backside of that, for me at least, and for a lot of people, where things actually then start to click in this kind of new environment where you realize that there's so much left to learn. And then you start really taking off, and that's when the real progress comes. But this difficult part, this bit in the middle, right? I see see so many guys fall victim to it, where they say, no, actually, I was doing really well with trading, and then something happened, and I just felt like I was making no progress, felt like I couldn't get anywhere, so I dropped it. And so many guys fall victim to that, where they think that it's over. They think that progress is over. Maybe crypto isn't for me. Maybe trading isn't for me. But actually, I think the vast majority of guys who stick with it, stick through this awkward period, right? They come out the other side and they actually make a ton of progress and become consistently profitable, right?
I mean, this is the definition of the Dunning Kruger effect, right? Like, that's what this is. That's what that chart is, right? You have the valley of unknown. The more you learn about the subject, the more you realize you don't know anything. That's true of so many disciplines in life. You can liken it to the gym, right? When do you make most of your gains in the gym? It's at the start, right? And then the growth becomes very incremental and much harder to achieve. Where those newbie gains, it feels like every week you're adding 10 pounds to the bar. Now it's a grind to add 2 pounds. But this is the definition of the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it is very accurate. Trading is very much like this. I actually found, for me, right before I started making money consistently, I almost was perfectly wrong every single time. Like, I'd do all of this stuff, and then I'd take my entry, and it was like perfectly wrong. Like, my long entry was the ideal short entry. My stop for my long was actually the actual long entry. Like, I was just one step off, one step out of sync. And then slowly over time, I started just refining. And then a light switched. Once you become profitable, to my point earlier, it's not about making even more money because you're now saying, okay, well, now I'm going to double the risk. It's about now just refining your edge. Okay, you have an edge, you know it works. When you win bigger than you lose, and your win rate works mathematically in line with your risk reward. Now it's just about refining, reducing the amount of mistakes you make, reducing the amount of bad setups that you take, and you just refine. And then once you've got that edge, then you just press it until hopefully it doesn't ever break, and it just gets sharper and sharper. And then you've got a skill for life, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, completely agree.